So, you are welcome once again to our science lesson. Today we have science for basic 4. We are looking at something interesting. In fact, this topic we have been learning it from basic 2, basic 3, and basic 4. Today we are going to look at it. The topic is very interesting. But before we start, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Paul Sofori Senior. I want to also know your name, so write your name at the comment section where you are watching me from, the name of your school. Okay, today we have science. If you are not in basic 4, please, you are also part. You are part of today's lesson because the topic, you are going to learn it in the classroom. Those who are in basic 4 too, your teachers or your teacher will teach you. So pay attention. What's the topic for today? The topic is here. Let's read it together. Evapotranspiration or evapotranspiration. Let's take it again. Evapotranspiration. So this is what we are going to look at. It looks big, eh? Okay, don't worry at all. It's something simple. Something simple. Evapotranspiration. It's not a disease. No, it is not a disease. And it is not a name of a person. It's a process. A process. This natural process happened. We can't see it with our eyes, but the effect of it is seen. And we enjoy the effect of it. So what we are going to learn, pay attention. Anytime you hear this word, I learned it. Paul taught me on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook that evapotranspiration is about ABCD. I'm going to teach you the ABCD of it. So relax. So before we start, let's look at the keywords. So these are the keywords that we are going to see: moon, cloud, rainfall, nighttime, daytime. Let's move on. Now, I don't want to take much of your time. Let me show you something here. Let me show you something here. Okay, so this is our board. I'm going to draw something for you to see. But let me tell you, during daytime, something happens. A lot of things. But we're going to look at one thing that happens during daytime. You see the sun. The sun shines. Heat from the sun, we use it to do so many things. But this heat from the sun causes our water bodies to warm up. When they warm up, part of it turns into water vapor and they rise into the atmosphere. The same thing applies to plants. Plants who lose water in the form of water vapor into the atmosphere. So this is what we are going to look at. Two things: water bodies changing into water vapor that goes into the sky. Plants also losing water in the form of water vapor into the sky. That is simple. The only thing that we are going to learn today. So there are two things that you should know. Let me draw this here. Let me change the color. So red color for this word. And then another color which is blue for this word. Now, what is the meaning of evaporation? We have learned about evaporation. Before. So what is evaporation? Let's take this. We have water in this. You apply heat to it. It will get to a point that the water will evaporate, will turn into vapor, and you see the vapor going into the sky. Have you seen it? So anytime we talk about evaporation, we are talking about water turning into water vapor. Water turning into what? Water turning into water vapor. So anytime water turns into water vapor, that process is called evaporation. So you see, if you have water like this and then you put it on fire, let's take this as our coal pot. We have charcoal here and there is water in the bowl. The heat will cause the water to evaporate, so the water will turn into vapor, water vapor, and the water vapor will go into the sky. So where water changes into water vapor, that process, or the process where water changes into water vapor, is what we call evaporation. Evaporation. So when you hear about, or if you hear about evaporation, we are talking about a process where water turns or changes into water vapor. We know water is a liquid. Water vapor too is gas. So where liquid changes to gas, we can also describe that as evaporation. But here, we are looking at water. So water turning into water vapor, that is evaporation, the process where water turns into water vapor. Now, there are a lot of things that we have on earth. You know, we have plants, we have soil, we have stones, we have water bodies. So the water bodies that we have, river bodies, ocean, the sea, lakes, all these are water bodies. When the sun shines, heat from the sun will shine and heat these water bodies up. These water bodies will also turn into vapor. So the part of the sea will turn into vapor because of the heat from the sun. Part of the ocean too will turn into water vapor because of what? The heat. Part of the sea, part of the lake, all these water bodies, part of it will turn into water vapor. And the water vapor too, it doesn't go into the water, it doesn't go into the soil, it moves up, it goes into the atmosphere. So the water bodies here will turn into water vapor. So water body or water turns into water vapor, and the water vapor goes into the atmosphere. That process is what we call evaporation. These two words, evaporation and this word, or this term and the other term, that is what you need to understand. So anytime you hear about evaporation, we are talking about water turning into water vapor. If you have a cup of water, you pour the cup of water into a saucepan, put a saucepan or the cooking pot, pour it into a cooking pot, put it on fire and leave it. After 20 minutes, if you are not careful, that cup of water or the water that you poured into the cooking pot, you will not see it again. All of them will become what? Will dry up. They will change from water to water vapor. Have you seen it? Have you experienced that before? So you see, that process is what we called evaporation. Evaporation only takes place when there is what? Heat, source of heat. If you have water and you don't apply, or there is no heat there is no way the water will evaporate. So water only evaporates, or water evaporates when there is a presence of heat. So in the case of water bodies, we don't put them on fire, but the sun provides or produces heat. So the heat from the sun will turn or convert or change these water bodies into water vapor. And water vapor, because it is gas, it goes into the atmosphere. So this is evaporation. Let's come here. Transpiration. Transpiration. I've told you that the things that we have around us, we have water bodies, we also have plants. So we have plants here, different plants. Look at their leaves. Different plants. So these plants too, we have them: mango, orange, pawpaw, cassava. Just mention them. These plants, they also have water, but the water they have, they lose some into the atmosphere. You see, there is sun, so the sun will be here, and the heat from the sun will also cause the water in the plants to be released into the atmosphere. So you see, the leaves, the water in the leaves will move in the form of vapor, water vapor. So anytime we talk about transpiration, we are talking about water moving from plants to the atmosphere in the form of water vapor. So evaporation takes place in water bodies, but transpiration takes place in plants. Here, this could be pawpaw plants. This could also be mango. So there are different plants, you can mention them, and all of them lose water in the form of water vapor through the leaves into the atmosphere. So you see water vapor, this is water vapor. Where does it go? It goes into the atmosphere. When you come here to, you see this thing, this one too is what? Water vapor. And where does it go? It goes into the atmosphere. So where plants lose water in the form of water vapor into the atmosphere, we call it transpiration. And when water bodies lose water into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor into the atmosphere, we call it what? Evaporation. So anytime you hear about evaporation, we are talking about water bodies changing into water vapor. And anytime you hear about transpiration, we are talking about plants losing water in the form of water vapor into the atmosphere. So here, one common thing about evaporation and transpiration is that they all need source of heat. So here the sun is what heats up the water bodies. The sun is what heats the plants up. So one thing is that they all use what? Heat, or they all need heat. Or heat is needed before evaporation can take place. Heat is also needed before transpiration will take place. In this case, we have the sun here. We have the sun here. I hope you understand it. One common thing about these two processes is that they all lose water vapor. They all lose what? Water vapor. Have you seen it? So in evaporation, water vapor is released into the atmosphere. In transpiration too, water vapor is released into the atmosphere. The only difference is that evaporation takes place in water bodies, but transpiration takes place in plants. That is the only difference. If you understand this, that is all. Today you are finished. All the things that you are going to learn, we are done. So interesting. So what you should understand is that today's lesson, only two processes we are going to look at. We are looking at only two processes. We are looking at evaporation and transpiration. Evaporation takes place in water bodies. Transpiration also takes place in plants, where both of them, they release water vapor into the atmosphere. They also need heat before evaporation can take place, before transpiration can also what? Take place. Okay, so that is that. Now, let me clean this side. Let me clean this side. Check something now. I'm coming to show you something. We have learned two terms or two processes. One is evaporation. The next one is what? The next one is transpiration. Can you see? So here, let me change the color. I don't know if you can see this color. Let me go back. Okay, so let me pick red. So we have evaporation, we have transpiration. If you add them, we have here evapo. And then we have transpiration. So here, evapo plus transpiration will give us evapotranspiration. So evapotranspiration, we are talking about evaporation and transpiration. Evaporation and transpiration. So when evaporation takes place and transpiration also takes place, these two processes we combine and give it a term called evapotranspiration. That is evaporation and transpiration. So anytime you hear about evapotranspiration, we are talking about evaporation and transpiration. You know what evaporation is, you know what transpiration is. So when the sun is shining, when the sun shines, the plants, they lose water into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor. Water bodies also lose water into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor. So when these two things are taking place, that is what we call evapotranspiration. Evaporation taking place at the same time, transpiration is also what taking place. So these are the two terms that we join or we combine to get evapotranspiration. In evapotranspiration, water is released into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor, and you need heat, source of heat. With these two processes, we don't use fire. It is only the sun that provides heat for these water bodies or for the water content on the surface of the earth. I mean in plants and in water bodies. This source of heat from the sun causes them to what? Release or lose water into the atmosphere. So that is what you should understand. When you talk of evaporation, this is transpiration. When they happen at the same time, we call it evapotranspiration. So that is that. Any question for me? We are finished though. We are finished. The rest, it's just something that you need to be taken through. So we are looking at evapotranspiration, and we have seen what evapotranspiration is all about. Now we have seen the keywords. In water cycle, the heat from the sun changes water on the land into water vapor, which goes into the atmosphere. The water vapor condenses in the atmosphere to form clouds and precipitate back to the land as rain. This same process continues again in the cycle and does not stop. The process is called the water cycle. So water cycle, we are talking about movement of water from the surface of the land to the sky or to the atmosphere. So water moves from the land. Do you know that water moves from the surface of the land? Yes, through transpiration and through evaporation. So the heat will cause the water bodies to evaporate. The heat will cause plants to lose water, and all these turns into water vapor. They go into the atmosphere. You can't see with our eyes. When they go into the atmosphere, the temperature over there is very cold, so it changes the water vapor into tiny water droplets. small water particles. So these small water particles come together to form what we see as clouds. So the clouds will be there, and more heat will also go up. When the heat goes up, it will turn into tiny water particles. They come together, form more clouds. So when the clouds become heavy and we have a lot of water in the cloud, it comes down as rain. When it comes down as rain, that is when we see when it is raining. So anytime you see that it is raining, the rain is coming from the clouds. Have you seen it? So the vapor that went up formed tiny water or changed into tiny water particles, comes down again as rain, fill the water bodies, the sun will shine, the same water will turn into water vapor, goes up again, it gets to the atmosphere, it changes from water vapor into tiny water droplets. They come together to form the clouds. After some time, when the clouds become heavy, that they cannot be contained, it falls to the surface again, the surface of the land again. When it falls, when it rains, look at where the rainwater goes into the water bodies, lakes, and other things. So these water bodies will get filled with what? Rainwater. Now, after some time, you will see the sun. The sun too will shine. When the sun shines, the heat from the sun will turn this water again into water vapor. So you see that all the time, water from the atmosphere comes to the earth, it goes up again, comes to the earth, goes up again, comes to the surface of the earth, goes up again. So you see that movement up and down, that movement of water from the atmosphere to the surface of the earth, back to the atmosphere, is what we call water cycle. So anytime you hear about water cycle, we are talking about movement of water. Movement of water. One thing that you should know is that when the water is falling, we can see, but when it is going up, we don't see. We don't see because it turns into vapor. Vapor is a gas. We can't see it. It turns into water vapor. But when it gets to the atmosphere, it changes to water, tiny water particles. They come together, they stick together to form water droplets, and they fall as rain. So that is what you should understand. So anytime you hear about water cycle, don't worry, it's just water moving from the surface of the earth to the atmosphere in the form of vapor. When it is going in the form of vapor, water vapor, we don't see. But when it gets to the atmosphere, it changes from water vapor into tiny water particles. They come together. So the clouds that we see, they are what? Water vapor that have been changed into tiny water particles. And these tiny water particles, they stick together, they come together to form the clouds. So the rain that falls, it falls from the clouds. When the clouds are heavy with water, it falls down as rain. So that is that water cycle. That is water cycle. Now let's look at something here. So in water cycle, there are some processes that happen. Water moving from the ground to the atmosphere, back to the ground to the atmosphere. A lot of processes take place. So let's look at the process. The first one is condensation. So what is condensation? Have you heard about it before? Condensation is a process by which water vapor, by which what? Water vapor. Listen, we are talking about condensation. It's a process where water vapor changes into water. So where does it change? The water vapor, does it change on the earth or in the atmosphere? Water vapor changes into water in the atmosphere. What causes it to change? The cooling nature of the atmosphere causes the vapor or water vapor to change into water. So condensation, before it can take place, it needs something cool to change the vapor, water vapor, into water. So condensation happens in the atmosphere. Now the next word is precipitation. So what is precipitation? It is the process by which water particles fall from the atmosphere to the earth's surface. Precipitation does not occur, or precipitation also occurs in the water cycle. So in the water cycle, it is not only condensation that happens. precipitation also take place. It also happened. And we have seen that, listen, if you see that rain is falling, that is what we call precipitation. If you see snow falling, we call it what? Precipitation. Any liquid substance, any solid substance that is falling from the atmosphere to the ground, that process is what we call precipitation. So anytime you hear about precipitation, please, it is not the food that we eat. Precipitation is not a name of a town. It's not a name of a person. It's a process. That process is part of the water cycle, where the solid substance or the liquid substance in the atmosphere falls to the ground. So precipitation is a process where water or solid particles or solid water falls from the atmosphere to the ground. Yes, we have solid water. Snow is solid. Sleet is also solid. Hail is also solid. In Ghana, the only thing that we see is rain. But outside Ghana, different parts of the world, every day they experience snow. They experience sleet. They experience hail. They are all forms of what? Solid water. Water that is frozen. You know, the atmosphere, the temperature over there is even more than the fridge that we have. So you put water in the fridge, the following day it turns to grog. In the atmosphere, the same thing happens. That is why in some part of the world, every day snow will fall, ice blocks will fall. They fall from the clouds to the ground. That process of moving from the clouds or from the atmosphere to the ground is what we call precipitation. Okay, now let's continue. The next one that you should know is evaporation. As for evaporation, I don't need to explain it because I've explained it to you. Evaporation is one of the processes that we see or we have in water cycle. So it is the process where water changes into water vapor or gas due to heat. Evaporation plays an important role in water cycle. We have seen what evaporation is, where water bodies turns into water vapor and they go into the atmosphere. They can only turn into water vapor when there is heat. So without heat, evaporation will not take place. Okay, the next thing that you should know is transpiration. So it is a process where plants lose water vapor into the atmosphere through their leaves. So plants too, they lose water. They absorb water from the soil. The water from the soil goes to all parts of the plant. But this water in the plant, sometimes or they lose some into the atmosphere through the leaves. This happens when there is sun. The sun shines and you see part of the water in the plant will be released into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor, and that is what we call transpiration. So evaporation and transpiration, we are talking about losing water into the atmosphere through water and then plants. So that is what we call the two terms. We call it evapotranspiration. Now we have seen that. Okay, so evapotranspiration is even here. Now let me show you this. This is what we call the water cycle. This is what we call the water cycle. Now let's look at the processes in water cycle. In water cycle, we have evaporation. Evaporation, that is the vapor from water. Have you seen it? We have condensation. Condensation, that is where water vapor turns into water. And then we have precipitation. Precipitation too is when water or rain is falling. So precipitation, so it goes like that, and when it falls, it fills water bodies, and then the water bodies will evaporate again, come to the atmosphere, turns or changes from water vapor to water, and then it falls like this. So this process is what we call the water cycle. Movements of water. Look at the arrow from the ground to the atmosphere, back to the ground again, goes up again, back to the. So this is a cycle. Water that is moving in a cycle. We call it water cycle. And the processes involved are evaporation, condensation, precipitation. We also have transpiration. So that is water cycle for you. Now there is another one here, evapotranspiration. Yes, it is a combined process of evaporation and transpiration through which water is transferred. So materials needed plants in a pot, transparent wrap bag, and a rubber band. So this is a plant in a pot. We have the plant here. Then the rubber, you see it is transparent. If something is transparent, it means we can see through it. Okay, now how to go about it? Examine the surfaces of the plant leaf and clean or mop off any water droplets on the leaves. So before you start, check the leaves of the plant. Make sure all water particles on the leaves, you clean them. 2. Tie the transparent wrap bag around the plant up to the stem and leave it for an hour or more. So you cover the plant with a transparent rubber or the wrapper. You wrap it and then you tie it to cover the entire plant. You tie it to the stem. So here the leaves, all the leaves and the branches will be covered with the transparent wrapper, and you tie it. The next one, observe both the plant and the surface of the transparent wrap bag. So after 1 hour time, go and check the surface of the leaves and then the surface of and then the plants. Sorry, the transparent rubber. Check it and see what you have. Now observation, water droplets are found on the surface of the transparent wrap bag and the leaves. So after some time, if you go there, you will see that water droplets are found on the surface of the leaves, and you also find it in the transparent wrap bag. So why? When you started, there was no, you mop off or you clean all water particles on the surface of the leaves. After you covered it with a transparent bag, later you saw water on it again. You saw water inside the bag again. So what happened? This is because transpiration takes place. Plants lose water. So the water that was going up into the atmosphere, because of the rubber, the transparent rubber, the water couldn't penetrate to go into the atmosphere, so they remain inside it. That is where the vapor, water vapor from the plant, and they will get to the rubber. The transparent rubber will prevent them, so they will be inside the rubber. This vapor will turn or become cool and turns into water particles. So that is what you see, and this is how transpiration happens. Okay, so today, in summary or in conclusion, we have learned that plants release water into the atmosphere when they transpire. Okay, so in summary, we have learned about water cycle and two key things that happen in the water cycle: transpiration, evaporation. When these two terms or these two processes come together, we call it evapotranspiration, and we have seen that they all involve what? Water, turning water into water vapor. Evaporation happens in water bodies. Transpiration also happens in plants. They lose water into the atmosphere in the form of water vapor. This happens in the presence of what? Heat. So if there is heat, you see evaporation taking place, you see transpiration also taking place. And this is what you should understand, that anytime it rains, these are some of the things that happen before we see rainfall, we experience rainfall. So water cycle involves so many things. Water cycle, I've explained to you that is the movement of water from the ground to the atmosphere. It goes to the atmosphere, it comes back to the ground again. Then from the ground, it goes to the atmosphere, it comes back like that. So it moves continuously in a cycle, it doesn't stop. It moves like that, and that is what we call water cycle. The processes involved are the things that we have learned. We have learned about condensation, precipitation, transpiration, evaporation. So these are some terms that we can see, or some processes involved in water cycle. I believe you have understood everything. If nothing at all, you know today you have learned about one term, one big term, evapotranspiration, and I know you can explain to your friends that it is what? A combination of two processes, evaporation and transpiration. I hope you are okay. If you have questions, feel free and ask your questions. But before that, I also have questions for you. So let's come to exercise 1. Exercise 2 is here. Exercise 2 is in the form of riddles. Should I read it? Okay, so let me read the first one. Riddle number 1. We are twins in the same area. My sister gives me water to grow, but both of us lose part of our water to the atmosphere all the time. Who are we? Hey, these people are twins. Wow. In the same area. So we are twins in the same area. My sister gives me water to grow. Wow. These two twins, one give the other water to grow. But both of us lose water, or lose part of our water to the atmosphere. So these two sisters, they lose water into the atmosphere all the time. So all the time they lose water into the atmosphere. Who are these people? What term is used for this? You know it, I've taught you. You just learn it, or I should tell you, they are evaporation and transpiration, and we call them evapotranspiration. So that is that. Question 2, or number 2. Let's leave it. I'll leave it for you to answer. Let's go to the next one. We have exercise 3, exercise 4, exercise 5, exercise 6, home assignment 1. So these are the things that I expect you to do for me. Okay. So we have learned about evapotranspiration. We have seen the exercises and the homework. Please make sure you do all of them. They are simple. The things that we have learned, you should be able to answer all the questions. They are easy, straightforward, and the application ones too, I know based on your understanding, you'll be able to answer all of them. My name is Paul William Sofori, but before I leave you, please remember that this lesson can be found on YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. Go there, watch our videos. We are teaching you what your teachers are also teaching in the classroom. It's the same curriculum, the same thing. We are explaining things to you. So when you go and you watch, make sure you share the link, you subscribe, you like, you share, do all the things that you can do to help grow the channel. Apart from science textbook that we have, but before I talk of other ones, the science textbook, our science textbook, one unique thing about our books is that it comes with video lesson. So if you buy the book, you have access to a video lesson. So each topic, there is a video explaining every detail to you. So you can finish watching the video lesson before you read the book. You can read the book and you watch the video lesson. So if you do the two, you get perfect understanding. You get deeper understanding of the topic. So our science book is there. Apart from science, we have Ghanaian language. Yes, we are Ghanaians. So there is a Ghanaian language books. We have Asante books. We have Asante Tree books, Tree books. They are all there. Just call the number. You get copies. Once again, my name is Paul William Sofori. Bye-bye.